All right, everybody. Welcome to the weekly call for Stark Financial Group. This is the free call for everybody that I do each week. And I am tonight. We had a call for the mentor program the other night with my friend Mark, and he talked extensively about courts and jurisdiction and trusts. The trusts are part of the mentor program, so when you get in there, you'll be able to access that. But there was a part of the call, the last part of it was like 47 minutes that was just about courts and jurisdiction. So I decided to put that out there for free. So that's on the YouTube channel. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to spend, I don't know, 10 or 15 minutes tonight going over this document that he had presented. And I'm going to put it in the messages here. So if you guys go to the messages, when I put them in here, you can open these documents. So give me a second. So here is the PDF, which is basically the instructions. And then these are the templates. So the information that Mark put out the other day was just like on all one PDF. So I separated it and I actually created templates for you guys. So I'm just going to go to it and I'll start reading. All right, so we just want to start out by talking about like what this is all about, okay? This is more advanced stuff. This isn't necessarily stuff that you would be going through if you're just starting this walk into the movement. But once you get your SBC and all that stuff and you're getting your trust done, then this is like how you handle a court case. So let me just get through it. The RAD is greeting to the Patriot community. Back when Mark wrote this, everybody called themselves patriots. Okay, the patriot movement has gotten a little bit more about guns and hiding shit in the mountains of Montana, and the movement that we are involved in here is just a little bit of more about being free and being friends of the IRS and things like that. So we aren't associated with the patriot movement, but this is an older thing that Mark wrote. So greetings to the Patriot community and those who are awake. First, it be known that you are loved, and nothing written here is to be taken as condemnation, rather than its encouragement to common sense and critical thinking. All right, so the first thing that I want to point out is how we all get into this movement and we get angry and then we get belligerent. If you've listened to anything from Pat Devine, you know how much of a belligerent asshole he is. Okay. So he has good content, good information. I'm not confident that he ever gained access to the trust because he was so belligerent, but he did have good information. So what I'm saying is that I want you guys to start to think about and move in the direction of not being one of those belligerent assholes. Okay. So this whole thing is a different way of presenting a FOIA request to get information on a court. When you get this information or when you submit this information to a court, they're going to be very reluctant because you are getting information that is not going to put them in a good light. So a lot of the ways that other people are doing this, they're in a court case, they're sick of being pushed around, and then they submit FOIA requests that are belligerent and basically sending them to the wrong people and they're saying the wrong things and they basically just get stonewalled. So we're trying to provide a different way of doing this, okay? So perhaps our collective lack of progress toward a remedy is due to asking the wrong questions. What if I have allowed, unbeknownst to us, agent provocateurs, to guide ever so carefully the conversation in such a way that we do not find the truth? In other words, what are you looking for in the wrong places and asking the wrong questions? So if I may, I would like to propose a couple of questions that haven't answered, not by anyone else, might lead us into the answers they're so desperately seeking. These must be answered actually and not philosophically. Seek out tangible answers backed up with the authoritative evidence. We must leave our land of Oz and theory and get back to the land of substance. So if I may, I propose these two questions in conversation. First, where are you? Who are you? Search out the history and check out the authorities with this. Specify the answer as deeply as you can. Who are you? Second, what is the creator's universal law form? In use of words precisely, I did not ask what universal law. I asked what was the universal law form. And if you don't know what a law form is, examples of law forms, look it up. So there's many forms, there's law forms, there's, what forms of payment, like when you're in a court, one of the things that you have to ask when there's a judgment is what monetary form, what payment form am I supposed to use? Okay. What payment form does this court render its verdict? Right. These are questions that you have to be asking, because if they're only rendering a verdict in fiat, that's not a debt. You don't have to pay that according to HJR 192. Okay. So these are questions that you have to ask. There are only two jurisdictions on the planet, substantive and shadow. Being able to distinguish between the two is where the remedy lies. Includes as a letter of inquiry to begin your search. As we correct the questions and we listen carefully to the answers and what is not said, be aware of the law of assumption. The law of assumption is a two-edged sword. The system uses it against you in many ways that you're not aware of. However, you can use the law of assumption to your own advantage as well and make these statements and your statements of standing as well as things you understand. As it stands, if not rebutted, a statement assumption can only be rebutted by someone with standing with the evidence of the contrary. In other words, if your all caps name is a named party in an action, okay, and you are coming to that to address the accounts for that named party, okay, you are the only one that has status and standing. Nobody else can rebut an assumption but you. So this is very important, okay? As patriots, we were talking about needing enforcement. However, you have been a dominion by God, which we are not subject to the fiat system. We are enforcement. We merely need to rebut the assumption of authority over the fiat system. Okay. So directions here. And you have copies of this so you can read it, but purpose to rebut the assumption of a spirit-filled man or woman surety for a fiat legal fiction. Okay. So basically we're saying we are not the surety, right? So number two, rebut the assumption that a fiat court has jurisdiction. Okay, by expressing the trust, you are challenging jurisdiction. You don't have to say I challenge jurisdiction. The judge knows when you express the trust that you're challenging jurisdiction. Okay, to rebut the assumption of fiat laws, statutes, codes, ordinance, and regulations. Just in case you don't know, there's 66 million fiat laws, statutes, codes, ordinance, rules, and regulations. To rebut the assumption of a spirit-filled man or woman in fiat enforcement to operate in the kingdom of heaven, okay? To rebut the assumption of authority of the Babylonian system, okay? So these are the purposes, okay? The desired outcome is to exercise our God-given right to be left alone, to live our lives unencumbered by the Babylonian system, agencies, agents, and departments, to cancel any and every fiat debt created in the Babylonian system, okay? Instructions, move and replace the highlighted areas to understanding. So basically, when I go through the templates, you're going to see all that, okay, where I highlighted everything. Leave everything else alone as it corresponds to 1 and 2. Do not send the rant or the directions. Send a letter of inquiry, number 1. Send it priority mail with tracking only. You don't have to do all the, special mailing stuff. Print off the proof of delivery for your records. 2 weeks later, send number 2, because they're not going to respond to this. Then, do the same thing and then send letter number 3. And then 2 weeks later, you say a declaration of decree. Okay, so there's basically 4 letters in these templates that I have for you. Okay. So then I'm going to go into the templates quick. There it is. All right, so I redid this from what Mark had sent because it had it laid out differently than I generally do. So, of course, your header remember that whatever's on the top left corner of your document is who owns the document. So if you just leave this blank or you have somebody else's letterhead up there, then that's their document. So you want to own this. So first, middle of the house, last, and then your address, city, state, American Republic. For stuff like this, on my return, on my letterhead, I don't put the zip code in there. Okay. But you guys can do whatever you want. So then you got the circuit court administrator, and then you have hold on, I can't spell. Then you have the state court administrator. So it's going to both of them. Okay. It's a letter of inquiry to whom it may concern. You just put your license in here, and then you just keep going. Now there's 4 different ones here. So you got to change the numbers at the bottom. So if you look at the bottom here, you see how it's got page number 1, right? But this is going to change because that's the first letter, that's the second letter, that's the third letter, and so on. So, okay. Admin. All right. So the first one is just grants original jurisdiction. Obviously make sure you read through this and get the right information in it. So the first one is just saying that these are the things that we need, from the court. Okay. And then they're not going to answer it. So here's the second letter. And, it just talks about that they ignored your letter and that they need to comply. So this is, in case you're wondering, this is what an administrative process is. Okay. So we're just doing an administrative process on a FOIA request. And the reason why is because if you've done any of them, I've done them, and they don't answer them, or they'll send you this letter that says, oh, we don't have bonds, we don't have oaths of office, so on and so forth. So you just go through the process, and then when you get to the last letter is just basically saying that you haven't answered any of these, and that you're in default. So there's something missing here. Hold on. All right, so that's that.
And I'm sorry to bother you. Did you take them back out of the chat, or are they, because I don't see it?
All right, hold on. Yeah, I don't know where they went. I just had them in there. You see that one? Okay.
Yes, sir. Thanks so much.
All right. Oh no, they're in there. You said to scroll up more. I don't know. I see them now. All right, so that's the those are the templates. And I I put those together today. The stuff is free. There's some stuff that I charge for, but things like this, I try and like put out there so that you guys get something that you can be, that you can work with. Um Again, this came from a friend of mine that's been doing this like 20 years, and he did a child support case for like 20 years, and he expressed the trust for like 20 years in there, and from my understanding, he never paid his child support. So, um, anyway, that's kind of what that is all about. You have the templates, you have the instructions. Now I'd like to open this up to questions, and you guys can ask me whatever you want about this stuff. Or anything else you want to ask about, go ahead.
Well, first, you might be my favorite person of the month. Uh, I was literally praying. I'm gonna give you. I hope I don't take too much time, but so I listened to it when you posted it, and then I said, "Dear God, I got to create this letter." So I called my wife. She lost her uncle, so she's in Texas, and we work together. And I said, "Babe," she said, Can you pick me up tomorrow?" I said, "Yeah, you're gonna have to listen to this audio with me. And we're gonna have to rewrite this whole thing." She's like, "What?" And I'm like, "Yeah, we're gonna have to." And then you like jump on, and the first thing you say is, "Yeah, I said, oh my gosh, this is so." That's the fifth thing I'm about to hug you for. I was four before that. But I was introduced to you because long story short, it's a child support case. So I and I'm in Maryland, and my family's like kind of popular, NAACP and all this business stuff. And but I went through a not fun divorce, and
Are any of them fun?
oh, bro, and I spent over $200,000 in 4.5 years fighting for my children. Almost
Yeah.
lost my three times. Blah 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 blah. And they had me to come to, I represented myself recently. The crazy thing is, they told me about this thing called bonds for the win. You ever heard of that?
Yeah, we've been using them. I helped Brenda do her bonds. I did them,
Okay.
and they just Kansas just kind of laughed at me.
Oh,
Uh,
okay. Well, believe it or not, my wife and I got all the oaths of office back.
yeah.
Uh, I
Well, I
know.
got my oath. I did get some oath of office back, but they were just bullshit. They were like, "Oh, we support the Constitution," blah blah blah. And I was like,
Exactly.
"Okay, so where's the bond?" They're like,
Exactly.
"Well,
And then
there
they
is
gave
no bond. We have a blanket bond with the county." And I was like, "I'm not asking for your insurance. I'm asking for your
exactly
performance bond because you have an oath, and the oath means nothing without a bond. That's
correct.
federal law,
That's
right? So
exactly what
where's
they
the
did.
bond? They won't give it to me."
That's what they did. So
Yeah.
I had to go to court, and we started, and I did before I started the private jargon. He said, "So I understand you're a sovereign," and basically he informed me like he was going to not make it fun for me. And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Well, first off, I'm not sovereign." So I first asked him, I read the his oath. I said, "Well, I just happen to have the oath that you signed May 28th, 2010. Is this you?" So he's like, and I said, "You just told me I don't follow the Constitution in here. It's Maryland jurisdiction." I said, "But the first line in your oath that you signed says, I do swear to follow the Constitution." And so I said, "Are you just saying for the record you don't follow the Constitution?" He's like, "I absolutely follow the Constitution." It was terrible. But nevertheless,
Yeah.
he's telling me I'm doing a good job, blah, blah, blah. It's a 2 day hearing, and it ends. And my mom is like, "You did really good." I'm like, "Nah, this doesn't matter." I'm like, the final verdict, when we get to the money, that's what matters. All this, guys, this is just a bank. He says from a Facebook post that says, "Oh, my business is doing better. Thank y'all for the service." That you have to come up with $10,000 in the next 10 days. No, by September 20th, or we're putting you in jail for 10 days.
Yep.
My wife was in awe. My mom was in awe. No, first of all, Maryland says you have to have proof of income. There's no proof.
So here's
Nothing.
So let me just interject here for a minute.
Sure,
Okay.
sure.
So I just want to kind of lay this out for you. Okay. So the problem that you're getting into is that when you discuss anything with a court, you give them jurisdiction. Okay. So at that point, when you were like going through 2 days of court, it made no difference what your Facebook posts were. It made no difference what your business was doing. It had nothing to do with the money in your pocket. It had to do with the fact that you gave them jurisdiction and you are their asset.
Now,
Okay.
if I, then I mean, you know, I'm with that because
Yeah,
so if I
you're
put
their
special parents,
asset
if
and
I put special, go ahead.
your body is worth 47 billion in labor credits. Okay. And so because you gave them jurisdiction, you gave them your body. And because you gave them your body, then they decided that you were either going to pay, and it's not 10,000. The 10,000 is the peanuts. It's over 1 million. Okay, because the 10,000 is the tax. So let's just say that that county in Maryland has a tax. Let's say that that county in Maryland has a tax of $1 per 100, right? So for every $100, there's um, there's $1 that's owed in tax. Okay. So if they bill you 10,000, how much is that?
And per dollar per tax. So if they bill me 10,000, they made what, $100 in taxes?
1 million.
All per every dollar they hit,
10,000, your bill, what they said you had to pay 10,000, right?
right? So that's, oh, it's the opposite.
It's 1% of what the security was. So what they did in your name, in your all caps name, they took out a security for 66 million. And then that security landed in their
How do
court.
you know? How do you go ahead?
I mean, I can explain all this to you at another time, but
Okay,
this is
absolutely.
how this works, okay?
Yes,
Is
sir.
is so if it's 10,000, that
Yes, sir.
means the actual tax is 1 million, and that means the actual amount that security that they took out of your trust was around 67 million. Okay. So then that security, which is a bond, sits in the court for 3 years. And then they take your 1 million, right? And then they take the 10,000. So they take 1,000,000, 10,000, right? And then that's their money. That's the tax. And then there's the other 66 million sits there for 3 years. And if you don't claim it on a 1040 or 1041, then they get to keep it. So then they get the other 66 million. So that is how the court works. So they don't care what your Facebook post is. They don't care what's in your checkbook. They
They
don't
just making up anything.
No, they don't care about any of it because you're a human being, a body, which is a surety of a birth certificate, and a birth certificate that's worth $47 billion in labor credits.
So it doesn't matter. I put special appearance.
Doesn't
Uh,
matter.
I
So
put
what
color of
so
law
what we
letters.
do, if when this meeting's over, if you want to send me a private message, I
Okay.
can I can go through what has to happen in order for you to deal with this. Okay. We
All
have
right.
several people I have a special court group that
All right.
we work through things with. And the last person that we did a court case with, he was successful. He got it dismissed. So he never had to
I'm
pay.
looking forward to it, man. Yeah, because I
Yeah.
got a check back connected
Yep.
to it using 1099s and stuff.
Well,
Um,
it's yeah, it's basically there's some paperwork that we file, but it's all about you. I have to teach you how to
is it
speak.
connected to trust and all that?
Yep, I teach you how to speak properly, and then we do the bonds, and I also do this in camera paperwork,
Yeah.
which gets you in chambers with the judge. So this is like the whole process that we do for people to like
Wow.
teach you how to do this from beginning to end.
Bro, they swore. Listen, I was in a group with Christina Wilson. Before Christina, it was Patrick Devine. Before Patrick died, there was a chain. Then it was Paul Michael. And I was like, I'm starting to lose focus on where he's going. And then they said, no, you need to listen to Kent. And now I'm getting dizzy. I'm like, listen, you already got a lazy eye. So this ain't helping me. And then I listened to a couple of your stuff. I was like, babe. My wife was like, what? I was like, this dude, babe. So she's like, okay. So I just started listening to everything you had. And I was like, yo, this is
Marcel.
Yes.
If I can chime in, this is Brenda. I went through the same thing as what you've gone through, and then I found Kent, so he's going to change your life.
Oh, word.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you
Wow.
finally got in the right group.
Yep. So I'll just give you a little background about this is that I was going through a bankruptcy a couple years ago, and I had heart condition. I ended up having to have 14 stents put in my heart, and I had a firefighting business doing 2 million a year, and it all went under because I couldn't manage things the way that I needed to. And so I filed bankruptcy, and I was in bankruptcy, and my lawyer was literally literally like just sinking my ship. And I was like, what the hell? Why is this guy? And then I started to like look at this, and I figured out that like the debts that I owed was like 819,000. And so just do that number I just did, instead of using 10,000, do 819,000 and come up with how many millions of dollars that they secured that case for. So this is why, because my lawyer, okay, attorneys, a torn, right? So what they do when you hire a lawyer is that your security is put on deposit with the court, right? So if that security is 60 million or 100 million or whatever it is, whenever the court adjourns your case for the day, that security has to go back in the possession of the lawyer. So if you look at your county disbursements, you will see how much your lawyer got paid that day for holding your security while you were in court. So they have to bring the security, they have to deposit. You don't see any of this and you don't know any of this. But when they say, when the lawyer says, I am Joe Schmo here and I appear in person for Kent Stark, that's the moment he deposited your security into the court, a bank, right? And
Like
then
I
after the
gave him the
court,
right to be a trustee.
yep, yep, and that's all the lawyer does. Lawyer is not there for you. They don't care about you. You know, you could die on your way to court, you know, and they wouldn't care, right? So I was in this bankruptcy and I was figuring all this stuff out. And so then I started sending my lawyer, it was 3608, which is basically you know, if you present tender a payment to somebody authorized to take that payment and it is refused, there's discharge. Right. And he was like, that's not how I read that. And I was like, well, how do you read it? Like, please, like, I know I'm not a lawyer and I don't know lawyer jargon, but how do you read that? How do you read that? Because I really like to know, because that says that the letter that I sent to the bank that they refused means there's discharge. And oh no, and he like argued with me and he fought with me and whatever. And so this is the thing, is they gotta die with the lie. Like they cannot, because I'll tell you right now that the fine for not dying with the lie for a lawyer is like 100 million. Yeah. So explain to me
Wait.
how
What?
that's in your best interest, right?
Hold
So
on.
I
Say that
figured all
one
this.
more time.
So there's a, it's,
If
and
they
I
don't
don't
die
know the
with the
exact
law,
law. I will have to look it
yeah, I
up.
don't
It's
care. But it's just
18 USC something, and it basically says that if a bar licensed attorney gives up the game, they have to pay $100 million fine.
so they just rather die with the lie.
Yep, they don't even care, and they sell their soul, right? I mean, you can tell you've dealt with lawyers before, like they don't care.
Oh, they don't, bro. I gave them a 40 something thousand certified check. Um, did the whole EIN number.
Yep.
I show you the check. They kept sent back half the paperwork, kept the check. And it says it within 3 days, all like 20 codes on there, like what you have to do. They never sent the check back. So this judge says you got by the 20th, you got to send, and it better be in US dollars. Now I have the money mechanics by the Federal Reserve that says the Federal Reserve Bank printed out that promissory. It's just all, and then I have the one by what's his name? Affidavit of Walker Todd that he was 20 years with the Federal Reserves and he was 20-year attorney. Same thing. He's saying like, no, they have to accept that as money, especially if they kept it and never sent it back.
Yeah.
So this is just crazy hearing what you're saying, like what you just said. They like, no, it's the letter is good enough. And so he's just, you said the attorney is essentially you saying they have to die with the lie. So it's like a mafia.
Oh yeah, it's worse. It's worse. Yeah.
Whoa.
So
Crazy.
then I get, I go through this case and it gets to the end. And so then, it all, I end up dismissing the case voluntarily and it moves away. And so I'm just like looking at this stuff and I was like watching all these Pat Devines. I was on Robots and Patriots and watching like 4 to 6 hours a day, just like, just racking my brain. And, and then I was in I did every single, I was in Coach MT, Fila University, got to know SOE, all the usual suspects, followed the Moore stuff, just, went through everything. And then I got into Gene Keating and, and found out that Gene Keating taught Pat Devine. And then, I got into like some of these other guys, Yusuf L, some of his videos and stuff. And so I was like following like, I don't know, 10 different people. And I just said, God, just show me. Like, I'm 23 years in Narcotics Anonymous. So like, I know this, how this works is that, give me the wisdom and have this, give me, show me the wisdom and give me the strength to carry it out. Right. So I'm just like, God, if this is your will, just give me somebody. Right. And all of a sudden, I get a hold of that guy, Mark, right? And I get in touch with him and he starts talking to me and he's talking about the Bible and God and all this stuff. And I was like, screw the Bible. I'm not talking about God. I'm talking about trust, and he was like, and so he explained it all to me, and I was like, holy shit, this is it. This is so after that, every single thing that connected dots would just pound, it just like popped into my head. Right. And it was like, this is it. And this is this. And this is this. And this is this. So I started to put it all together. My SPC process is probably content from like 10 different places that I put together in my own process. Right. Because I just connected the dots. I omitted all the garbage. Right. So there isn't, my first SPC was like 200 pages on the record. Right now it's 47. So I do everything I was doing with 200 pages with 47. Right. And so then I got into that. And then I got in touch with this other guy that taught me. No, I was hearing all this stuff, Paul Michael and everybody talking about SF30s and discharge in debt and all this crap, but it doesn't make sense to me. Okay. Because they're not teaching the SPC. They're not teaching the contract trust right. Okay. But yet they're saying that we're going to do a modification of contract. So really, Paul Michael, what contract are you modifying? If you don't have your SPC done and you haven't submitted your stuff for the contract trust, you don't have control of the TT&E. And if you don't have control of the TT&E, by doing an SF30, you're violating federal law and committing felonies. Right? So this is what I'm telling you is that Paul Michael is an agent. Okay? He's not real. Because if he was real, he'd be telling you all the stuff I'm telling you. And it's not just him. There's like a dozen of them. Right? These guys get caught, they get busted, and then they come in and they give you like half the story with no remedies. Right? And so this is what I did is I figured this stuff out. And then at the end of my bankruptcy, I owed almost 300 grand to the IRS. Right? And so I dissolved all the companies. So then they came after me personally. And so I got in touch with an RO, which is a recovery officer. And I was like, oh, this is perfect, right? This is everything I want right now. Like they just can't, they're not going to believe that I'm going to be excited to be talking to them. Right. So I get this recovery officer on the phone. He's a nice guy, he's just a totally polite individual. Right. And he's just like, talking to me or whatever. And he's quoting all these laws. And I said, well, you don't have to do all that because my intent is to be an honor. So whatever debt, I said, my intent is to be an honor. So whatever debt that you say I owe, I owe. I am going to acquiesce to every penny that you say I owe. And so what do I have to do to get into honor? Well, you have to do a payment plan. And I was like, fine. So I did the application. I did it over the phone. I went through the whole thing. Then he tried to deny me and put me in dishonor and all this crap. So I talked to his supervisor, and then I sent him a bunch of letters quoting a bunch of laws that if they don't get their shit together, right, And then I submitted everything, and then they wanted to see the trusts, right? All these trusts that everybody tells you are fraud and all this crap. So I sent them the foreign trust, I sent them the statutory trust, I sent them the business trust, everything. And he said to me, he said, I just want you to know that I've been through everything with a fine-tooth comb. There is no evidence of commingling or alter ego, and everything is cool. And because you just went through a bankruptcy, there isn't the income to support a payment. And so we're going to put you back in honor for 2 years. At the end of 2 years, we'll revisit this. And so that's what happened. Everybody's so scared to make
What
that
does that
phone
mean?
call.
So you still had to make payments?
No, I don't. I don't have to make any payments. And I'm back in honor. And he put a blessing on my trust and said they were all legit. So instead of me being scared of a recovery officer and not calling him, I called him and I worked it out, and everything worked out in my favor. And so that what it did is it made all the stuff and all the information that I'm putting out to everybody legit. Right. And so that's what I started doing. So my Friends of the IRS program is that. And so that's what this whole thing has been about for me. This whole thing has been this process that I went through that didn't go very well. And so then I started to figure out what the truth was with all this. And that's what I do is I speak the truth to people and I help people. Okay. And this is what we're here doing. And that's what this letter of inquiry is all about, is about just kind of helping you move forward into this and doing this FOIA stuff right. It's all about the administrative process, right? Because you need to speak their language, right? And we're not speaking their language. When you get in court and you're in court and you're on the floor or you're at the table and you're talking to the judge, you know that he can't hear you, right? Now he can hear the words coming out of your mouth. But that's why judges sit higher, because they are on a higher plane and you're down here, so you aren't heard. The only way you're heard is by submitting a document. When you submit the document, you put it on the record, okay? Then the judge has it in front of him and then he can hear you. So when you go in the court and you spend 2 days arguing about your case, he doesn't even listen. He doesn't care. He's going to let you ramble on for 2 days and then he's going to say you owe this much money. Right. And if you have a lawyer, it's going to be 100 times worse. Right. Because on a $66 million security, the lawyer is probably getting $25,000 a day. And this is what they do. And this is how this all works. So our whole process, everything that we're doing it to try and make this simpler for people. Help people move along in this so that they can learn how to be a friend of the IRS, because you being a friend of the IRS and learning how to report properly is you're going to have all the money you need. You ain't going to have to worry about black cards and trusts and all that shit, because I did proper reporting for 2021, 2022, and 2023. And my pending return refund is 1.5 million. Okay. So this is what I'm teaching. This is what I'm going to show you.
Hold on, I need a minute. Sorry, man. I'm from Baltimore. When you getting a whipping in the street, we be like, Tom, I need a minute. I'm just processing what you're saying, Doc, because all right, go ahead, man.
Yeah, so that's what it is. Like, this is all it is. It's so simple, is that you don't have to like get passports and do all kinds of crazy shit and do what I did, drive across the country and get felonies, right? And then have to get them dismissed, right? You don't have to do all that bullshit. You just do what I tell you to do, and I'm going to show you how to proper report your taxes and get money. This stuff with um Christina and like borrow from yourself, like as far as I can tell, that stuff is legit, right? But this thing here that I'm talking about, I'm going to teach you how to acquisition money for new cars and new houses. I'm going to teach you how to discharge debt properly. When I'm showing you how to do this right, you can use the SF30. But you can't use the SF30 before you have control of your contract trust.
Well, brother, I am
Oh.
Don't worry, we got you. Don't
Mm.
worry. We got you.
I got a
Oh,
audio from my daughter saying, "Daddy, I love you. Please find us. I'll always find you."
Yeah.
And when I saw my son on the Zoom, he said, "Daddy, I love you, but you still children." And I said, "Who told you that?" He said, "Mommy told me you're still children. Ain't that right, Mommy? And
oh,
that's why we're here. And we can't come to you because you're still children." And I said, "Son, I'm sorry, Daddy doesn't do that."
Yeah.
And you don't really know me. I'm not really an emotional guy. Everybody kind of knows me. It's pretty intense. But my children, it's breaking me. And
Yeah.
I
Yeah. And it should, right? This is what's beautiful about all this is that
mm,
um God God's speaking through me. I don't do this. Like I told you, I'm 23 years in the program. I can honestly tell you 23 years ago, you wouldn't walk on the same side of the street as me, right? But this is a different world today. And, I try and promote peace. I try and bring, love and understanding, and it's not me, right?
I
Because
can
I
hear it.
can't change. I can't change. God changed me,
I can hear it, bro.
and
You
that's
don't
what
know
it
I've been
is.
in the ministry. I've been in the ministry. My mother started the first Christian fraternity and sorority in the country for HBCUs. My grandfather was a preacher for almost 80 years. He died recently, almost 100. And I was on a religious debate team for 20 years. I was undefeated for about a decade. And so they told me, "You're going to do amazing in the private." I said, "Why?" They said, "Because you know the Bible. You just don't understand how to correlate it."
Yep.
And so you know the tree by its fruit, man. And all these calls, I never talk. They just don't know I don't talk. So my wife would probably be amazed that I'm talking, but I was listening to your stuff, and it was lining up with the word of God. So
Yep.
sorry, man, I'll mute myself.
No, you're good, man. We really appreciate your words. We appreciate you being here. And after the meeting's over, I'll get with you privately and we'll talk about some stuff and help you get to get through all this. And the main thing that I want you and everybody in this call and anybody that ever listens to this is that, you need to be in honor, right? And that that's the question. The question is, what does it mean to be honorable, right? And so this is like what this is all about, right? Is that we teach people how to be honorable. So, for example, if you are trying to do travel, right? You're trying to constitutionally travel across the country, right? And you're trying to operate without a license. If you get your license taken away or suspended because you got 50,000 tickets in every single jurisdiction in your state, and then you come at them and say, "Oh, I'm driving on my constitutional right to travel," you're in dishonor. Okay. You're in dishonor because you waited until you screwed your driver's license up to all of a sudden be a constitutional person when the rest of the time you're usually what were you up until that point? A drunk and a drug addict, and I was that, right? So I know what that is, right? I'm not judging people. I'm telling you that that's what I did. But I got into this and I rescissioned my driver's license when it was valid. Okay. And because I did that, every single time I get pulled over and invoke my constitutional right to travel, they run my name and let me go. Okay. That's what this is about. If you're and it's the same thing. Like if you're trying to do a child custody case, right? Or you're trying to do child support or whatever. But you got, some people like they'll come in there and they'll have all kinds of contempt issues, right? And they're like, "Oh, I want to express the trust." Judge won't even listen to it. I've seen it happen. I've seen him do it, and I've seen him just totally ignore him. And he's doing it because they're not in honor. If you want to be recognized and you want to be the age of majority, act like it, right? Don't go into court fighting and arguing with the judge and accusing people of crap and whatever. Go in the court with honor and talk to the judge respectfully, express the trust, and move through it in honor. Right? And so that's what this is teaching you. This teaches you how to be in honor, how to move through this document, and how to get the information you need honorably without being belligerent. Right? And that's the thing, is that if you're in that belligerent, angry mode, then just take a step back. You need to read your Bible. You need to, find God. You need to do all this stuff, because you can't do it while you're angry. If you're an ego, if you're in your head, whatever situation you want to use, whether you want to talk about being in, the devil, or you want to talk about Satan, or I don't care what example you use to describe that. But if you're operating in fear, if you are confronting people in fear, then shut up. Shut up, back up, read your Bible, and figure out how you're going to approach people in love. Right? Because even though that judge is there to rip you off for millions of dollars, if you respond to him in love, you will get recognized. If you respond to him in fear, he'll throw the book at you. So that's the thing about, is that we have to learn to be in honor. Right?
So sorry, I
Go ahead.
want the bill of exchange that I gave them last year. Sent it notary, forget the term, but through the notary and confidential.
Yeah.
He said they never get a check back. He said, I'm gonna hold you in contempt. We did 2 contempts. They threw mine out, but they said, I'm gonna hold you in contempt, but I'm gonna follow up in September 20th. Because
They
we don't
give your
count.
bill of exchange back.
Yeah, they didn't. No, they never
No,
gave.
then they cashed it. If they didn't give it back to you, it's not in dishonor, and they kept it. Okay. It's the same thing with promissory notes and all this stuff. Okay. So here's what I'll teach you about this. Okay.
But he held me in contempt.
Yeah, right. And that he's going to do that because you're the trustee. Okay. So here, let me back up a second here.
Right.
Okay. Everything is trust. Nothing is not trust. So when you walk in the courtroom and you're not recognized as the beneficial title holder, then you're the trustee. And guess who recognizes themselves as the title holder if you're not? The judge. So if they're the title holder and you're the trustee and you're in dishonor because you're not paying the debt, then you are guilty of breach of trust. So you're in dishonor, so they don't give a shit what you sent them. Okay, so here's the problem, is that your status and standing is wrong. So now what we teach is how to go in the court with the proper status and standing. And so you go in there with the proper status and standing, you become the beneficial title holder. You set all accounts associated with the named party. The judge becomes the trustee, you get in camera, and you get all your debts paid. Okay, so that's how it's supposed to happen. If you go into court and you start arguing about who the trustee is, guess what? You're trying to argue, so guess what? He's just going to let you be the trustee. He's just going to be like, go ahead, you can go to jail. I got lots of room in my crowbar meltdown. Right? And so that's the thing, is they get you to do that. They get you to do that because of how they talk to you. They get you to acquiesce and give them jurisdiction, right? So here's another thing. You walk in the court and you offer a pleading. You want a motion to dismiss. Denied. You know why you denied it? Because a motion is asking permission. And you gave him jurisdiction. So he's like, no, we want his money. We're not going to dismiss it. But if you go in there with a decree, which is what I'm showing you how to do here, right? You go into court with a decree, that's not permission. You're the beneficial title holder. This is the decree. You're the trustee. Pay the debt. So that's kind of, what that's all about, is that you just have to get yourself in the proper status and standing. There's 100 videos about this out there, but the problem is they don't talk about remedy. They talk about how to get in standing. They talk about how to express the trust. They talk about how to do a bill of complaint. They talk about all this crap. But what the problem is, what they don't do is they don't explain to you the remedy. Like, what do you have to do to get this settled?
Oh, I was going to start a commercial lien.
Well, see, you're in, but you're in jurisdiction then. A commercial lien is commercial, right?
Right.
The only way you will find remedy is in equity. And equity is private. Right? So anytime you're in a court that's an open court, that's a public court, and you're talking to the judge, you're going to fail because you're you're in commerce. So you got to get out of commerce and in equity, right? So that's, that's basically what we're teaching. We're trying to show people here is like how to do that, how to be in equity. Here's the thing about equity that I'll explain is equity is the process of rules that lays down God's law, right? Equity is already there. Equity already exists. Your body is equitable. And when you operate in commerce, you are acquiescing to letting the court have control of your equitable body. So what we teach in the age of majority, so that's the big thing, the Age of Majority Act, okay, at Article 1, Section 1 of the Constitution, having reached 25 years old and having spent 7 years as a citizen, you claim your lawful title of U.S. representative. Okay, you have to be of the age of majority, and you have to establish that you are the lawful title holder. And once you do that, you're in private. You're not in public anymore, right? Because the surety of the Social Security account is what keeps you in public. That's what keeps you in jurisdiction. But when you are not the surety, when I call the IRS, they say, "Are you so and so?" I say, "No, I am I am the representative of Social Security number XYZ." I never tell them that I'm that number, because as soon as you tell them that you're that number, you're in jurisdiction and they ain't got to tell you shit. And this is the thing that none of these other groups tell you is that concept. The whole concept is that nobody, since everything is trust and nothing is not trust, nobody will tell you what you want to hear as long as you are pretending to be the trustee. Right? And as far as your kids go, unfortunately, when it comes to courts, they're property. Right? And the problem is that you're not properly asserting your property. Right? They're saying that it's their property because they're saying they're the beneficial title holder, right? But you are. So you have to say, I'm the beneficial title holder of XYZ. So, yeah. So anyway, this is good stuff. I'm really glad you're here. I'm really glad you got to experience this. This is
Bro. Sorry, everybody, man.
This
Thank
is
y'all so much for
absolutely
y'all
a
patience.
beautiful meeting. This is one of the best ones that we've had by far. Okay. And we're here to help you. Okay. And I'm glad you're here. And this is just amazing, through all the stuff that has been going on in, the last few weeks. This is exactly what this group needs. So, thank you. Thank you for being here. And I don't want to cut you off, but I just want to make sure, does anybody else have any questions or anything they need to talk about?
I just want to say I appreciate that discourse because it kind of cuts to the chase as to what, this program is really about. And
This is it.
yeah, thanks a lot.
Yeah, it's not about SBC or discharge and debt or anything. It's about what this is it. Is about expressing the trust and being able to be the beneficial title holder, Go ahead, Betty.
Hey, Ken. I came in late. A question. So filing bankruptcy is in dishonor. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
It is.
Yep. So you have to get in honor first. So the way that you get in honor is that you go through your bankruptcy, set up a payment plan, and start paying it.
Okay, so you can file bankruptcy, but then do payment plans and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
you have to do like a chapter 13 or a chapter 11.
Okay, thank you.
Yep,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Thank you so much.
And then once you stop paying it, you have to pay it all, or you then you
But
can.
once you're in honor, then you can express the trust and use your trust to pay the debt. Yeah. So what I did is I blanket bonded mine for 100 million, and then I sent 900,000 to the trustee's office, and then I kept 250,000, and I sent 98 million to the treasury. Oh, so awesome. And then I used the case number as the EIN.
Did they
That's
give
what
you
the
the
case
money?
number is. A case number is an EIN. And I did a 1041 and I did a claim against the bankruptcy so that the trustee's office couldn't do it. Yeah. So
And
I mean, this is all
and they
crap
gave
that
you
I
back,
teach
they
you
gave you
guys,
back
right?
some of the money.
Yeah, I haven't got it yet. I mean, obviously
Oh,
you're gonna
oh,
fight
gotcha,
it,
gotcha.
but it's there's a claim. Like a
Gotcha.
1041 is a claim. It's a claim against
Sure.
it's a claim against the trust estate. Bankruptcy case is an estate, right? As soon as you file bankruptcy, they create an estate in that name, right? And so all the money goes in there as soon as you create the estate. So they already have the money to pay all the debts the moment you go into it, right? So then you use a 1041, you make a claim. Once you have a claim in place, they can't do anything because you are the sovereign. You are the king of your castle. So once you file a 1041, they can't file over you. There's a law that says that anybody, any IRS agent or any trustee that tries to go over somebody's lawful claim, which is a 1041, right, has to sign under penalty of perjury. And if they sign under penalty and perjury and they altered a document without permission, that's a felony. They'll go to prison. Right. So it's just about understanding how to handle this, like how to move through this. Right. So
You know that what you just said is actually a scripture.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
Some of it I've heard before, but
Yeah, it's Proverbs 11:15. He that is a surety for a stranger, small for short, basically says he who is a surety for a stranger will suffer, but the one who hates being a surety is secure. And it goes in detail 2,300 years ago, almost word for what you just said. So I'm like, how did he know that? Because it just said.
Yeah, so it's in our paperwork too, because it's one of the that's one of the maxims. One of the maxims of law that come from the Bible is, if you're a surety for a stranger, you will surely smart for it. Yep. And like everything, like you want to read Genesis, you'll learn how the trust was created. You want to read Daniel, you'll hear about you'll know exactly about Babylon, right? The statue, the story of Daniel and the statue and the head of gold and the chest of silver, right? That's Babylon. Statue. What do they call laws? Statutes. Because they look to the statue.
And you said it's 60, what, how many?
66 million.
You know what's crazy? Everybody always says it was worse back then. And I say, no, it's worse now. And they say, what do you mean? I said, when Moses did the laws, it was 10. I said, mankind was so just off. By the time Jesus came, it was 613 laws. And we couldn't live up to them. And now you're saying it's how many?
66 million.
66 million.
Yeah.
Like we like worse, a million times worse than we ever were in history. 66, we'll never come from up out of that.
No. And so here's the point, though, is that when Christ came, it's the word says that he replaced the law. So why our trustee, right? Our good steward.
Okay. I'm
steward,
connecting.
the steward that replaced, remember, the story of the bad steward where he squandered the trust and blah, 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 right? And then God sent the good steward. The good steward's Jesus, right? And so he came here and he replaced the law, the however 613 laws, and he replaced them with him. He is the trustee, and he is the one that shows us how the trust is supposed to be administered, is how it's written. Right? And that's through the maxims of law. The maxims, I'm going to drop it.
Thanks.
I'm going to drop it for you. Here, so you got it. Let me find it. Content.
I'm definitely gonna be reading Genesis. You said
You
read
just
Genesis.
connected all those dots for him, didn't you?
Listen, I've been religious all my life, so I never looked at it from trust. So I'm looking at it like, and it's immediately clicking. You said Genesis is how they is. I read all of Genesis on how to set up the trust, or just Genesis 3?
It's Genesis 1.
Oh, Genesis.
The
So just
first sentence. The first sentence. God created the heavens and the earth. Who's the grantor?
God.
Right. And who did he create the heavens and the earth for?
Oh, come on. All right, man. I need a minute.
Right.
Wow. Okay.
And
Yeah.
he created us in his image, right?
Of course.
Right. Okay. So who are the beneficiaries?
We are.
Okay. Who's the trustee?
Who's the trustee? We are as well, beneficiary and trustee, right?
Right. But we are supposed to follow Jesus according to the
Jesus.
Oh,
new.
that's right. Jesus
Right.
is the trustee.
So Jesus was the original, and then we follow him. So I just put the maxims in here. So
Okay.
go ahead
All right.
and
Hold
open
on.
this up. And you
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
that, right? And
That's
so
it.
that is your those are the 20 main maxims, right?
Okay.
One who speaks equity must do equity. Equity will not suffer for the wrong of a remedy. Equity regards as done ought to be done. Equity is a sort of equality. Equity aids the vigilant. Equity imputes the intent. So then I'm just going to get here to the important one.
That's crazy.
Let me find it. Oh, here it is. 20. Equity regards the beneficiary as the true owner. So
You got this thing notarized.
yeah, that's for my trust.
The seal is your thumb.
Are you
Sorry.
putting that up, Kent? Is that
It's in
on?
here.
Are you
I've
putting
sent
that
it several other times. Let me find this other one.
It's in the chat.
up? There it is.
Yeah,
Okay.
Hold on. Let me find you a different one.
Thanks for the hugs, Brenda. Appreciate it. And while you're looking up, so I follow Christina's process in regards to the child support and got a check back for 32,000. Then a new drama started of how the heck am I going to cash this thing? So I went to 7 banks and I did it wrong because it was in a state. And they like, we need a death. But somebody was like, no, just do an express trust online. And I did it with Fidelity. And then I finally put the check, it been like a month later. And but it's saying it'll be ready by Friday. I don't know if it's true. I expect to get flag back saying it's no good, but
So before you get your trust set up, you should always do Christina's process on yourself. Right? Do the 1040 with the
that's fine.
No, I'm just saying, like in the future,
Oh, yes, sir.
once you get your trust set up,
Yes, sir.
then you can do the 1041. But yeah, this is what I'm teaching in my course right now.
Yeah, because I
is
wish I
I'm
did your
teaching people
trust
that this is
first.
why having your trust set up is so important, because you can't use a 1041 and get a check back in the trust name and then
No.
cash it. Where are you going to put it?
Where you gonna put it? And
Yeah,
then-
because you
oh,
can't
that-
put it in your personal account.
Nope, I went through hell.
Yeah,
Through
yeah.
hell.
So that's
And
the
now, and they let me set up the trust, but that was an express trust. And then they put it in a money market. So I was like, oh no. And the rest of the trust all want a declaration and they want your stuff set up. So I was going to wait even longer to see you, but they let me, I don't know what's going to happen with it, but I saw what you're saying is right. Before we could do a process, but you got to have a trust.
Yeah, and this is what I've been telling, this is why I do this whole mentorship thing and like help people, is because is so that I can teach people how to do this. And
Yes,
some
sir.
people get in a hurry and they want to like do all this stuff fast, and I understand that people have needs, but the reason why I do this in a way that I do it is
Yes, sir.
because everything leads into the next thing,
Correct.
right?
I'm saying that.
Remember this, we only have 170 followers, and some of these guys have 30, 40,000 people following them. But remember this, how's it say? The road to hell is wide and well traveled, and the road to heaven is narrow.
Narrow.
So
Peace.
like, that's what I meant, this is what I believe, is that, Jesus,
Yeah, man.
how many people did Jesus preach to?
Oh, bro.
No, I
Wow.
mean, seriously, how many people was he connected to that he actually talked to?
That was
Just 12?
12. He
Yeah.
talked to 12 people.
Right.
And over 2,000-year period, after talking to 12 people, there isn't a soul on the planet that doesn't know his name. You don't need to minister to 1 million people. You don't need to tell the entire world the message. You need to tell 12 to make a difference. 12 people. And there are even some people that believe that you only need to tell 2. If you tell 2 people, if you get 2 people to learn the truth, that's all you need to do to make a difference. Right? And that's what we're doing. We're just doing
Oh,
this.
you changed, man. They told me that that a fireman with tattoos is gonna preach this Sunday. I would have been like, hey, all right. With respect to you, man, I'm muting, man. I'm overwhelmed right now.
All right, man. Well, let's end this for the night. We're over our hour. And I thank everybody for being here, and we will continue this. This is a great meeting. Thanks everybody for being here tonight.
Yeah, amazing meeting, man. Thank you very much.
Thank
you.
you.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Good night.
Thank you.